All right, now that you've chosen a topic to write about, or at least have some ideas of what you might possibly write about, it's time to look at some tactics or some things that tabloids use in order to write some goofy stories. So, the first thing they do is they use a lot of hyperbole. Hyperbole is just a fancy word for exaggerating. For example, some things you can say that would be hyperbolic or you'd be using a hyperbole would be, I am as hungry as a horse. You're actually not as hungry as a horse, but you're exaggerating because you are hungry. He ran at the speed of light. If he ran at the speed of light, he would probably burst into a bunch of different molecules because it's not possible for a human to run at the speed of light. But saying that really emphasizes the point that he ran fast. Now for this, maybe you want to try using one of these hyperboles and use it literally. Maybe this person did run actually at the speed of light. Maybe they were as hungry as a horse, or maybe they was an eating contest with a person and a horse. Things like that would make for a really, really fun, funny article. Something else that a lot of tabloid articles use, especially when they're writing their titles, are to use what's known as alliteration, repeating the first sounds or letters of words. Sometimes this causes things to rhyme. Hubble bubble, the spell is trouble. Now that's not technically the first word, but it does accomplish that hubble bubble. That same sound is repeated in each with the word there. Here's an example of them using alliteration, which is the first letter being repeated. Forced fairies fiasco. Things like that kind of draw your attention into the article. So using those would really make it so some may possibly buy this tabloid as they're checking out the grocery store. Another example would possibly be frozen fairies found in Florida. The last thing that a lot of tabloids use are cliches. Cliches are basically just sayings that have been used so much that they have become boring, and you really shouldn't use them in writing. But we're not worried about what we shouldn't do right now. We're going to do what we shouldn't do and write some basically bad articles. And so we're going to use a cliche. So some cliches could be, don't judge a book by its cover. When pigs fly, light as a feather. All these things have been used and used and used to death. And when you're normally writing, you want to avoid these things. But for tabloid writing, try to use them. So here's your task. You're going to open Google Drive, the same document that you used yesterday to write your ideas down. You're going to write a one-page story using one of the ideas you came up with yesterday. What we would like you to use is a hyperbole, a cliche, and some alliteration. Make sure you color code this so we know that you're actually using the correct things. So if you use a hyperbole, make sure you color that in red. If you use a cliche, color that in green. If you use alliteration, color that in blue. Hint, you should use those things because you will be getting points for using those things. So go ahead and try it out. Have fun with this. This is not something that's supposed to be very structured. This is supposed to be an exercise before we get into a more serious unit. This is supposed to be a fun exercise of writing a silly article. So the world is your limit. Make something crazy. I can't wait to hear what you come up with.